It's not benefiting us.
Well, I guess my biggest concern is the fact that we don't have any policy in writing. And I think that leaves us open to a labor dispute on this. And I think the board needs to at least consider that before they make their decision.
Were the other two that were reimbursed, were they MFRs prior to taking the class?
Yes. The whole plan was that when that first started, we actually had a class scheduled to start here, I believe, in August or September. And what the ambulance wanted to do is like how they do in Allendale, is the fire department there provides during the night one person on duty to drive the ambulance to the hospital and then back to the base. We have, the state says you have to be an EMT basic to do that. At that time, Jill was laid off. There was a class starting in a week down here in Rapids, so she volunteered to take that class instead of waiting until September, because this was like March, April, or whatever it was. We had the class set up, and it actually came down to the point where Life EMS was going to pay for it in full. It wasn't going to cost us anything. And because we were trying to get White Cloud Fire Department with their first responders started, and we were going to send them through it. And they decided that they didn't want to do it because of the time of the year and it would have been convenient with sports and stuff like that. And then the whole thing with the ambulance being in the fire station and some complaints about that, that's when like pretty much pulled the rug out from under it and pulled it out of here.
And I can see very clearly where you're coming from. My biggest concern is, we've got a precedent. We don't have a clear policy, which we really need to get in place.
I think our precedent is very clear that it needed approval before being paid.
I've always, anybody that gets training, I always approve them for the training. Nobody just goes and takes a class without my approval and expect us to pay it.
So I think that precedent's been set very well.
I disagree.
And every officer on board in the fire department is pretty much recommending against this.
Do you have that? Did they
I
sign
just asked
anything?
No, just what they told me.
Yes.
At the meeting.
Yeah. Yes. Lonnie Hall.
I think the precedent has been set. If your chief said no, that's no. This would be no different than the guy decides he wants to be a bartender and he goes, takes a class to be a bartender and turns in the bill to you. What's the difference? He came to his boss, asked if he could go do this. The boss said no. So I don't see how you could be liable for anything, whether it's in writing or not.
I think future, from here forward, a policy should be wrote.
Oh, definitely, definitely. My biggest concern is Dave's timeline is different than Rob's.
Yeah, he says he was never told before taking the class that it wouldn't be covered.
He approached me at one of our meetings on Monday night. Back in, I don't remember what it was exactly, but the classes were on Monday nights and he missed all those Monday nights after the class started. Well, he was at our meeting that night, so before it started.
Wait, can you run that through again?
The classes were Mondays and Wednesdays, so the last 6 months he hasn't been there to any of our fire meetings on Monday night until the class was done. I think it started in June.
Yeah.
January. So it would have been in December that you asked me.
So he's currently taking these classes?
No, he's done now. It was done in June.
Okay.
But it was every Monday night, every Monday and Wednesday night. So it was at one of our fire meetings on Monday night that he asked me about it.
How long ago did he take it, Rob?
Started in January.
Of this year?
Yeah.
And see, that's what he's talking about in his letter about Jill taking it, but she had, we discussed, it had to be 5-6 years ago.
I'd have to check and see.
Because what was not in the tenure of this board,
Yeah, it was at least 5 years ago.
so.
It might have been longer, but I think she's renewed her license twice now, and that's every 3 years.
I think it was at the end of the last board.
Mr. Reese.
When he got hired, was he told that he could take any courses or spend any of the township's money without somebody's approval? Because I've worked for, I don't want to tell you how many people. No boss, no employer of mine has ever said I could go out and do whatever I want to do, whether it was connected to the business or not, without getting approval from somebody who was in charge of the finances for that business. And whether it's a school class or whether it's taking a fire truck home with them or whatever. I've never heard of a precedent had to be set that said you can do whatever you want to and then collect when you're all done.
The other two that were reimbursed, they had prior approval before taking the class.
Well, no, Jill did, Penny did not. I was not in favor of Penny being paid for that.
Didn't you say that that was paid to another?
Well, not for sure, couldn't get it verified. But I know that through the school she went through, it's about $5,000 to take that class.
And that got paid for how, through this board?
Yeah, just the $800 or whatever it was.
And you think this board that currently sits here paid that
Pretty
when I
sure.
was approved?
Yeah, because
Yeah, right,
that was
that was
on
the
the
first
board,
year.
so yeah.
First
It was
year.
probably real early, and I mean, I can't keep track of time anymore. It was probably 3 years ago, but it feels like about 6 weeks
But it
ago.
didn't come from this board for approval?
Not that I know of.
Okay, okay.
Any other discussion? Well, the motion has been made and seconded to reimburse Mr. Middaugh $800 for training expenses. And make it a roll call vote.
Morgan made-
No.
Who made the motion?
Oh,
Gene.
Gene, Chris second.
Morgan?
No.
Debbie Wright, no. Chris Hadley?
I'm gonna vote no. No.
Okay. Jean Howard?
I'm going to vote yes, but I would like to state in there that I feel a precedent was set when the other firefighter was paid. Okay. Rob submitted a request. You want to explain what all of this is?
Yeah, we got a whole bunch of new radios through a grant, federal grant for the narrow banding. Any radio that we had that was not compliant, we got a new one for it. The radio in our main engine is totally different from everything else we have. It's a General Electric radio. It is narrow band compliant, but nobody reprogrammed it. So we need to replace it. And we can't use one of the ones that we got from the grant because the way it's set up in that truck, it's got a radio head in the cab and it's got also one back at the pump panel. So what we're gonna do is get a radio that sits in the front, but the operator will have a headset on, and it's Bluetooth compatible, so there's no cords, they can wander around the truck, and they can still use the radio.
Abby's group can't reprogram, they just can't be done.
Not that radio. There's nobody in Michigan, there's nobody in this region that we haven't been able to find anybody that can reprogram it. It's so old, it can be done, but nobody does
So
it.
it's just that old machine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And I'll make a motion to approve this expenditure.
There's some other stuff on there too.
Oh,
It's
sorry.
installing one of the new radios in our new grass truck and an antenna, and then the Bluetooth headset. It's all one quote.
And our rebate for.
Sorry.
Yeah, and they'll take that old radio, give us $100 for it.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Debbie Wright, yes. Chris Hadley?
Yes.
Morgan Heisman?
Yes.
Jean Howard?
Yes.
Yes. This is for expenditure.
Yeah, this one. $1,149.76 to T&W Electronics.
We just got about $10,000 for free radios a couple weeks ago.
Terrific. Okay, Bob, did you want to get going? Are you going to stay for the meeting or?
Well, you want to talk about this tree removal at the campground, unless, yeah, I can stay for that. Wayne wants to talk about
Dawn
that.
Star. Fencing for Croton, yes.
I got a couple of quotes, Lowe's and Crocs, and they're within $1.50. So because Croton's will give us 10%, of course. And I just have a question for Bob. Do you really think we need that right now? We got people
No.
parking over there, and I'm afraid they're gonna knock over your water that you put in.
The well there?
Well, you've got faucets sticking up out of the ground, and it's easily in a bigger vehicle will drive right over one of those. You know, I'm just thinking, my budget isn't there because it's not been a big year for cemeteries this year.
Oh, we can leave it be probably this winter, but I would think next year we gotta think of something. We can put it off this winter because we're gonna be plowing them pretty quick and nobody's gonna be
It's a
chasing
little over
them.
$1,100 with labor, but he said the labor is a little over. Plus, I added some plywood, he said we needed some plywood.
Yeah,
right,
we need
for the
plywood to
cemeteries.
lay on the ground for the dirt.
So you're suggesting we wait until next year now?
Well, unless.
That's
we can
fine,
do it,
I'm just trying
unless,
to,
you know, my budget isn't real big on the cemeteries. Like I said, we haven't been a big year like we did last year.
Mhm.
It's a good thing.
It's a good thing.
Well, there's other ways we could do this.
But-
We could just make some posts out of, if we could get old telephone poles, we could make posts. I just want something polite to keep
Yeah.
these people from driving in on there.
But a split rail would look really nice.
Sure.
And like I say, with labor, plus the plywood is a little over $1,100. So it's not a whole lot, but, and I don't think we need all that. We figured 120 feet, but if we go out there and measure, I'm not sure if we need all that.
so if it's incorporated into your next year's budget, you'll be okay with that?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
But I don't know if, because I'd have to bake, borrow, and steal from
Can we
the
use
rest of the
landmines?
general fund.
Is landmines legal?
Well, probably not. Yeah,
Just thought I'd try.
thought.
What did he put? But, you know, it is a thing that we've got to keep people from doing that because we're going to be burying people out in that area. We don't want to drive them
Yeah. Well,
over
with the
graves.
They don't obey the signs, so
Yeah.
we're trying to think of another polite way of saying, keep off the grass.
Because everybody parks in there, and like now, he's got water there with faucets sticking out, somebody's going to run one over.
Sure enough, they will.
All right, well, it sounds like the consensus is to wait until spring, so.
You think so, Bob? Would that be
Yeah.
all right?
Yeah,
Otherwise, you know, like you say, we can maybe put something up temporary for now until.
I've got some ideas on that.
Okay.
We can do it.
Thank you.
We can do it cheaper.
Well, then I guess we need a motion to table this.
Motion to
under the-
table the fencing until
Recommend-
next fiscal year.
By recommendation.
By recommendation of the
And I'll second it. Per Dawn Star's recommendation. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, those opposed. Okay. Survey results, I know Mr. Ortwine didn't really want that to be on the agenda, but I just thought it was interesting. It was an information gathering. The results were pretty interesting, and I think probably if anybody wants a copy, you can just request it. For the most part, there really wasn't anything that people didn't see as an asset to the community. And there was a little bit of enthusiasm dropped when the next question was continued operation and expending township funds to do it, but really not much. Overall, all the questions were very positive. So I will leave it at that. But most of them, especially the library, was 52 yes, 13 no. A couple of them no answers. Continued funding, yes, it actually went up one, 53, 17 no. Postal unit was a big one. Transfer station was huge. That's definitely a no-brainer, so very positive. Bids for tree removal at the campground. Maintenance crew has been working to get bids to open up the boat storage area at the campground. There's a lot of trees that they want to take out of there. Dwayne, did you want to say something? Mr. Rusco? Or are you just going to answer questions if they come up?
Well, I turned in all bids, I was wondering what they were and who was gonna pick, and
You want me to track the bids here so that you can answer them?
I'll think I can. This one is from Michigan Hardwoods and Lumber.
How much?
Value of the timber is $4,500 or 60% of the selling price. Labor is zero. Same thing, $4,500 or 60% of the selling price, which is what they are offering to pay us.
This one's from Howard Excavating.
That's for the stumps. That's for
Stump removal.
Is that at the campground too, though?
Yeah, it's the same,
Okay.
in the boat storage.
Okay, but it was separate, just for the stump removal.
And the trees will pay for the stump removal.
And this is from Atwood. Atwood Forest Products. That one charges for labor, $33.80.
$33.80 for the timber, no charge for the labor. We pay the township $33.80. Trees will be cut close to the ground as possible, not 3 feet off the ground. 3 feet off the ground is to facilitate the removal.
This one is from I don't know.
It's a proof of insurance there.
Yeah.
Nothing on the envelopes?
Robert Hines, no. Chris Valcamp Forestry.
That's who's working next to Lonnie right now. We're finishing up, actually.
He is offering to pay $5,400. And his proof of insurance is in here. Workers' comp. Have another one yet? Trees, that's the right count.
This is
I don't think
from
so.
Elders Forest.
What is it, Tony?
What'd you say?
How many trees?
I counted 58, but
Elders
Um,
Forest.
they weren't gonna cut some of them smaller ones down that I had marked. They weren't gonna take them. So I just told them that whatever they counted, take down for us.
Elders Forest Products, $4,501. And if the board has any questions on the project, they should talk to Dwayne and Bob, direct your questions to them.
You both are in agreement with the trees and how you want to do this boat storage? or whatever?
Yeah, we've been talking this over quite a long time, and that's a big problem in the campground. It's a bottleneck, and it's, they're jammed. And this would be, one thing is to open it up, and there would be a lot more room for people to back around. And then the other thing would be a place for our seasonals, put them all in a row, and then the, what do you call them, the weekenders? I'm trying to think of a good name.
Weekenders is good.
Okay. They'll come in and they can use the rest of it, whereas your seasonals will have one section partitioned off for them.
Okay.
That's what this is all about. And it's trying to give room for approximately 100 trailers. That's worst scene. That's the worst scene. Most of the time.
There'll
we
be
have
quite a
60.
few in there. When I
Oh,
saw them,
yeah,
they were
we do.
shoved in every nook and cranny.
Yeah, yeah, we do. And when you've got a big weekend, and then we have to let them, keep them on their sites. And that's something that we've tried to stay away from over the year because of the size of the sites. And this should remedy that, hopefully.
Okay. What do you know about this Belt Camp Forestry?
Dwayne is your fellow that's gonna have to tell you on this, because he's been handling a lot of this. I don't know any of these fellows.
Well, he's the one that took the time to put all the proofs of insurance and
Yeah.
everything in there, plus he had
The highest.
the highest bid. 54.
That's the bell camp.
Yeah.
Yes.
All I know is he's logging right next to Lonnie, and I think he's using, if I'm wrong, Lonnie, isn't he using some of your area for a landing and stuff?
Was,
He pulled out just last week.
Is he doing a good job, in your opinion? Is he doing a good job, in your opinion,
yeah,
Mr. Hall? Okay.
You seem reserved.
what's that?
You seem reserved with that statement.
I question the property lines a little bit.
Well, ours are fenced.
Uh-huh.
I said our lines are fenced.
Yeah, just keep them inside the fence. You
Keep
should be
them
all right.
fenced.
Wasn't there something about when loggers used to call it a square 40 was as far as you could see?
Yeah.
No, they're nice guys, though.
Yeah.
Good guys.
Yeah.
Well, I make a motion to use them for the tree removal then.
I'll second.
Roll call, well, I guess we don't need a roll call, because